like to welcome Justin Jahnke. I think I said that correctly.
Beautifully.
Great. Because like I said, I have a talent about chopping up names, but he is the director of Donor Experiences. And also with him today is Garrison. She is a visual artist. But thank you for being here. I know that you come representing Hearts Need Art. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, I met you last December, and you spoke about what you were doing. I felt I needed to get you on the radio to share this, what you all are doing for the people that may be in need of this. But thank you for being here. Say hello to the people that are listening right now.
Yeah, thank you, Sal. Very happy to be here, inspired by your story and what you told us when we first arrived to your studio. Yep, so I'm Justin Jahnke. I'm the Director of Donor Experiences for Hearts Need Art here in San Antonio. And to my right, I have Hannah, if you'd like to speak a little bit, Hannah.
Sure, yeah, glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So my name's Hannah, and I've been part of Hearts Need Art since 2019. So it's coming on to my fourth year now, working with patients and working within the healthcare setting as an artist. And I've really been an artist my whole life, technically. But I did go to school at UTSA, graduated in 2014, and then found my calling here at Hearts Need Art, working with patients. And then I also do work within the multiple sclerosis community within town, with the MS Society sometimes, but also within the Greater Scope online with other multiple sclerosis organizations as well. So.
Right. And I know your title is visual artist. That kind of really caught my attention, because I'm thinking visual artist. It's like, what do you do? Because I don't think I've really heard that title before. And so I know that you're doing a lot of artwork. And what is it specifically, the artwork that who you are serving? This is what really, I love what you're doing with that.
Yeah, well, you bring up a really good point. I always have to keep in mind who I'm serving, what populations I'm serving. And within the scope of Hearts Need Art, we serve mostly oncology patients, but we have been breaking out into different arenas. So the VA, for example, and starting to work with veterans over there too. So really it's bringing the arts, but creative development, creative projects in which they can basically step away from whatever's going on with them, step away from their healthcare issues for a little while, and step into a different world, something that actually a lot of times, they've never done artwork before. So it's a new endeavor for them, but it's also about inspiring them or trying to inspire them to be something different and move forward with their diagnoses, if that makes sense.
Right. And it's basically like people that maybe aren't, and I know when you came, or when I was talking to Justin here, he said, Hannah's coming, she's coming from the hospital. And I said, I hope everything's okay. The first thing that comes to mind is like, no, she's working there. And I'm like, okay. But you're thinking, maybe something happened or whatever. I said, we can probably postpone it. We need to, or whatever the case may be. But then it clicked, right? I'm like thinking, oh no, she's actually going in there to do something with the patient, right? And so that's where you were coming from.
And I always have to make that distinction too, because I always have to catch myself. I'm always just like, okay, I'm going to go to the hospital today. Call me later. But I'm going in there to help people, really.
Right, and that's what you're doing, right? You're bringing art, which is a great concept, to people that really, they're there, and when you're in the hospital, that's the last place you want to be, right? It's a thing that, it's like you're there and I don't want to be here, but yet when you come in, and I've seen some of the drawings or pictures that you have here about what you're doing with them, I think it gives them that moment of separation of, I forget that I'm in the hospital, or I forget about my illness or whatever it is and that I'm dealing with, because they concentrate on creating something that I think is going to take all that away for that moment and bring them into a whole different mindset, right?
You got it exactly right. Exactly. It's about taking a part of yourself away from the hospital as much as you can, because sometimes I'll go in there and they're still in pain, or they're still receiving their chemotherapy as I'm in there. But we'll get a conversation going, and then with that conversation, the artwork will start to happen. And a lot of times, even if they've never done artwork before, it just sort of becomes natural. It's like, because we're humans, we're naturally inclined to making things. And, even though sometimes art is not exactly for that person, at least they're transported to someplace a little bit different in that moment. And it's funny how you're talking about, going to the hospital, and people don't really expect to create art in the hospital. And it's so true. I've also done window paintings with patients as well. So I'll go in there and I'll do a window painting with a patient, and a lot of times just seeing their faces light up as I'm talking to them and as I'm creating the artwork for them right in front of their eyes, it really changes the setting. Just to walk into there and suddenly there's a lot of color on the window. Suddenly their mood changes for a very long time after that.
Right, and it's so important because you're there, and it's, it seems like everything can be kind of negative, right, with everything that you're going through, or whatever you're dealing with, especially with the family members, and you're having to go through. And like you said, it changes mindsets, at least for that moment, to realize, what, I'm okay, but then, I know I have to deal with certain things. But I think anything that's positive that comes into your life is beneficial in whatever capacity. It may be art, it may be, and I don't know, Justin, I'm trying to remember, were you talking about that you do music?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been a musician.
In something like this?
My whole life, really.
Yeah.
I still play every day and write.
Do you do something similar to go to play for the people, or no? That's not something you're doing?
I'm not in the hospitals every day, so my role is more on the back end, which is fundraising, developing relationships, being out in the community, which is where I'm at USAL. Right. And just sort of creating more structure to kind of keep the mission going and strengthen it, really, and just put all those pieces together. But I'm an artist at heart. I mean, I still am very much, and I write too. Okay. Creativity is kind of like my core. Sure. But just personally, I was in the business world for the last 5-6 years, and it was just very uninspiring. And then COVID hit, and it kind of just forced me out into the other directions, which was a blessing in disguise. It wasn't that much in disguise, actually. I was kind of I'm happy to sort of be moving away from the
disconnecting from that.
Yeah, the day-to-day grind of the profit side of things. So it's been a real blessing for me, and then changed directions. Also, I got a UTSA. I'm studying to be a therapist as well. So, for Hearts Need Art, it's just connecting a lot of different dots that, like you were saying, that are mission-driven and having that deeper meaning to try to drive you forward every day. Right. So it's been great. I'm very inspired listening to you and listening to Hannah, learning the stories, learning a little more about, what Hannah's doing in the hospital every day, and because I don't get to go in the hospital, so.
Not yet, but I'm thinking when you were telling me about being an artist in music, I mean, I think I've seen some, like a news reporter one time, I don't know, I think it might have been a nurse or maybe somebody that was volunteering for the hospital, but she would come in and she would bring a little electronic keyboard, and she would play there for the patient and sing, and that's just, it's a whole other level like what you're doing as well, right? It's disconnecting them from what they're dealing with, and I love music. I serve on the music ministry, so, I mean, I'm not a musician per se, but I love music and what it brings, because depending on where you're at or what you're dealing with at the time, hey, music is a game changer to be able to either uplift you or to make you happy or whatever the case may be. And that carries over to, individuals like at the hospital, right, that may be in that type of situation where you can come in and just maybe sing a song for them or something and lighten their day up. And so, I don't know, that may be something in your future. I'm just thinking about that out loud,
I'm not opposed to it. One thing I've found, though, at Hearts Need Art is the artists are really, really good. So the art is amazing. It's very rich and vibrant and deep. The musicians are really, really talented, good musicians. So I aspire to be at that level, but I'm not crossing it off the list either.
No, absolutely. I think there's always opportunities, and I always believe there's a season for everything in our life, right? And it may be not that season for you at the moment, but it may come to that point, of course. But because you want to utilize your talent, if you have a talent. I know I don't have a talent. I can't really play an instrument, like I say, or I can't or sing, but I can play a CD. So, I mean, that's the extent of my music, background, working with, the sound and all that. But I still love music and hearing it, and especially with when it's inspired through the heart, I think it has a whole different meaning or a connection that how you connect to that song or music. And so I think you can probably bring that, if that's the route maybe we'll take down the line. I don't know. But that's something definitely that we want to encourage you to do if that's something that your calling may be in that area.
Well, I definitely believe in creativity as a healing force and tapping into kind of all the sort of what you were saying, Hannah, the human nature element of expression. So, I'm inspired, about what you're doing, and you too, Sal. I mean, your talent is this. Look what you've put together.
Well, I'm trying.
Well, it's funny how we're talking about this now, the human aspect, because I feel like I'll go into, a setting, whether that be the patient's room or to do group classes, and I feel like 90% of my job there is engaging with them.
Right.
The art will come naturally because, like I said, once I show them what the project is, what we're doing, what the goal is, or perhaps maybe I'll work on a window project. Once that's started, most of my job is talking to them, making them comfortable. And a lot of times, our conversations can flow into family. They can flow into talking about their likes and dislikes, whatever hobbies they have. But also, it leaves space for them to start to open up. And I feel like the art is there to break down barriers. We'll start to talk about, I never prompt anything. It's really them who... once they feel comfortable enough, they'll start to talk about what's on their mind.
Right. You kind of follow their lead.
Exactly. So it's all about following their lead and basically, I guess, teeter-tottering off after what's going on their minds. And really having them lead the conversation, but I'm there to listen to them. So I'm there to do art with them or in front of them, but I'm also there to give them that listening ear.
Right.
Because they really need it.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in that, what you just said, because like for me working with youth, right, a lot of times when you meet them, they're kind of in their own world. They may have been hurting, whatever the case may be, and a lot of times it's like, I just kind of want to engage with you first, kind of get to know you, what you like, what you don't like, and little by little, those barriers do come down because they feel like, I think you're kind of honest enough that you really are wanting to know who I am or what I'm about, and that happens with the engagement, right, and a lot of times that's how things or doors are open to let people know, hey, I'm here to help. And once you do that, you kind of introduce something that they may be interested.
Exactly. And if you're in a hospital, you're there talking to healthcare professionals, and the healthcare professionals, they may not want to or have time, really. I think it's mostly they just don't have time to really get to know you as a person.
Right.
And you as a patient, you may not feel comfortable enough telling them exactly psychologically what's going on in your mind. So here I come in as an artist, and here I have colors. I have like so many colorful things on me, and it really helps to, I guess, break down those walls and break down those barriers, like you said, because they just want to be listened to. They just want to be, talked to as a human being.
Right. The people that when you go visit, are they mostly all adults, or do you do some youth or kids or anything of that nature? What is the age group that you usually take care of?
Mostly adults. So
Okay.
It's mostly AYAs. So that's between the ages of 18 to 40. But, we go beyond that, of course,
Okay.
too. So
Now, and I love that. Like I said, I've never been in the hospital, but I've been with my family members that have been in the hospital. More recently, my mom, and I know that being there, it's just like, she's 98. And it's not a good place for, anybody really to be in a hospital. I understand you may need to be there because of the health issue, but I know once you're in there, you need a distraction, or you need something that will help you either kill the time or just be able to, like we said, disconnect and take you to another place for that moment. And so what you're doing, I think, is such a beautiful thing, because there's so much need. There's so many people in the hospital, and they may not be aware, like we were talking about earlier, that this is, I think, is something awesome that people need to know that this is available. Where can they reach out to, or how can they contact you for more information, if that's something maybe that they would like to, for one of their family members to have an experience with?
Sure. Well, I don't know if you want to take over this one or not, Justin, but if they wanted to reach out, you can always catch us on Facebook,
Okay.
Instagram, Hearts Need Art. We also have an email, so info@heartsneedart.org. That would be a good place to reach us as well.
Okay, yeah, it's good to know because, like I said, people are always, especially when, situations like that, if they don't know that this is available, a lot of people are going to be lacking and saying, man, I wish I would have known this when I was in the hospital. Or maybe you're going into the hospital, I don't know. But being able to know that these services are available, I think it's something that will benefit you, even though I know nobody wants to go to the hospital, but having these things available will make a big difference, I think, sometimes. Because, like I said, art or music is something positive that helps us in so many different ways. And I know that it helps the immune system if you're being bombarded with something positive.
That's
Right.
true. So true.
One thing that's kind of connected me, like with the mission, is like every person will be affected by healthcare at some point.
Right.
And everybody knows somebody that's in the hospital. But it will touch you at some point. So that was a meaningful kind of connection with me. And just building on what Hannah said, heartsneedart.org is the main central website. And personally, I'm always happy to hear from the community, listeners, anyone. I'm always like, reach out, like, let me know what's going on.
Sure.
Let me know your story, and just I like to hear from people.
Right.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, heartsneedart.org.
Yep. We love building those connections. So we also offer virtual classes as well. So if you'd like to sign up for
Okay.
that too, because I have a couple of longtime patients that will come to me every week or every month or so, and so we'll do an art project from the comfort of their home. They may not be well enough to be outside and doing things and having any kind of human connection really outside of their home, and so doing things virtually is a good way to help with that too.
Okay, so that is available after the fact that, once they leave, maybe they want to continue
Exactly.
doing what they're doing. And it's virtually, they don't have to necessarily, you don't go to their house.
Correct. Yeah, I have my own studio set up at home and
Okay.
basic supplies. So honestly, no matter where I'm at, whether it be hospital or at my home doing virtual lessons, the patients don't need to have any of their own special art supplies.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of using what you've got.
Sure.
So
No,
if all you
absolutely.
have is pen and paper, that's totally fine.
And I know we spoke about this at the beginning. You brought some artwork. I know our listeners won't be able to see that, but can you show me some of the things that
Sure.
you said you just finished this one a couple hours ago?
I did, yes. So right before I came here, I did something that I like to call what do I call it? A reflective spiral or a reflection spiral.
All right.
And I like to take this project out every single year. So for our listeners who can't actually see anything, it's a spiral. I created a spiral base with pencil, and then I use marker to actually follow along with the spiral in the middle of the page. And actually you can see right here, there's a separate little note card on the back of it. And I wrote 1 through 8, so that was as many color markers as I had on hand. All the things that I was grateful for the past year.
Oh, wow.
So in 2022, I mentioned before that, I work in the multiple sclerosis
Right,
community. Well, I have MS, and so my number one thing that I'm grateful for 2022 is my MS symptom stability. So I'm doing pretty good so far. So that was my first thing. I'm also grateful for my mom for having AC, because my AC is pretty good. Simple things like that. You
Sure,
gotta
yeah,
remember that
absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah.
Simple things. So really what I did was I went one by one and I took my marker. As I was coloring this entire page with that one color, I was thinking of what the color was connected to. So number one, my MS stability, that's the color orange. Thinking about all the memories associated with that, I had music on in the background, just thinking about my health, basically, throughout 2022. So you do that one by one for every single line that you wrote down, all your things. So it's a reflective piece.
No, that's nice. I mean, there's so much more than what you see, right? Sometimes when I was seeing that, I'm like, okay, that's pretty nice. But then you brought the other part about what you're grateful for, and that just really, I think, brings everything into like clear of, okay, it's not just this, but there's so much more that's
Exactly.
involved.
And it's very symbolic with the
Yeah.
colors. So, and nobody has to see the back of it. Nobody has to see that list. I know what each color corresponds to. So I can look at this and I can reflect on it anytime I'm feeling like I'm in a spiral, perhaps a depressive spiral.
Yeah.
Maybe perhaps I'm.
I see the connection now, what you're talking about when
exactly.
you said that.
It's so easy to get into that, and it's so hard to get out of that sort of anxiety spiral or whatever it's going on in your head. And so it just serves as a reminder that there are so many good things that have happened in the past year.
Yeah, I like that. I really, like I said, once you mentioned those things, it brought everything more like, we need to be grateful for the beauty of everything, and then because of the positive things in our lives that a lot of times, like you said, we take for granted, or we don't realize. Like you said, the AC, right? It's like, well, we don't. It's there, but like right now, it's on, right? But like during the summer when the ACs were off, I mean, it's like, oh my God,
I
you
could
really
not
feel
have
it.
survived.
Yeah. So it's like, it puts a lot of things in perspective, and you do more art, and I know that, again, the listeners can't see it, but I think what you're doing is great. Thank you for what you do, because you're making a difference in somebody's life.
Thank you.
Because we need it more than ever, I think, now after the pandemic and everything that's been going on.
Yep.
And it just, we need it. I mean, we do need it. And art, I love art too. The music part aspect of, Justin, you taking that part as well. And I don't know if that may lead to that, but thank you for what you do, because I know you will be making a difference, or you're making a difference already because of, where you're connected with this organization and what they're doing for people.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm happy to be supporting and, gain inspiration from listening to y'all and applying it to kind of the back end stuff. And I will say that, there's such healing power in sort of reflection, connection, and that kind of vulnerability of being open and sharing. And there's just a lot of empowerment within that, especially if you're feeling like you need a connection or you're lacking a connection. So I appreciate hearing the stories. I love the stories. It's great.
I'm glad that, we're able to benefit or feed off of each other. Because that's a great thing, that we're able to connect or be able to help each other out. And that's what we're about, like I said, trying to help people through bridging the gap, through all these different services and resources that are out there that I would have never known about this. But I'm glad that you made the effort and the time that you gave to come to one of our Bridging the Gap meetings. I appreciate that, and that's what we're about, trying to make those connections and find out more about what people are doing out there. Any last things really quick before we end our program?
I would just say, check out heartsneedart.org if you'd like to get in touch. And like Hannah said, Facebook, Instagram, and reach out. It's a wonderful organization.
Absolutely. Hannah, any last words?
Well, stay creative and do things that might make you a little nervous, like art, if you've never done art before.
Yeah, and there's some people that have some great talents, and you never know about it until they start doing something. And like, oh my God, you did that? And he goes, yeah, I didn't know I could. And sometimes it takes a little inspiration, a little, coaching and encouragement, and just to, especially in a new year, right? You always want to do something new or go outside your comfort zone. So you heard it here. Get out there and do something, buy some colors, do whatever you got to do, and let us know about it.
Yeah, let us know. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sal.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming. Thank you so much for joining us here on another episode, our very first one for 2023, and we're looking forward to an awesome, blessed year. Thank you, and we'll be back here again next week. God bless.
Thank you.